Hello and welcome everyone to this the challenge session as a part of the Building Smart International Standards Summit, Lillestrøm 2023. Thank you for joining, and thank you for those of you online joining. My name is Jeffrey Ouellette, and I will be your moderator today. Today's session, or current session, is titled The Challenge. And Léon von Berlo, our technical director, will be the initial speaker, but we will have guest speakers coming up through the session. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including some time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand this over to the speakers, switch here. I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep the background noise to a minimum. And if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand. We do have a microphone issue. They're trying to fix it. So we have two mics here. We can pass this mic around. I would also like to bring to your attention that Building Smart is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. So please take a note of our antitrust code of conduct, which can be found online with the link. And now I would like to hand it over to Léon.
So yeah, welcome everyone. It's always nice to be in a room where there's not enough seats again. So it's seems to be a good sign. So indeed, this is the first presentation session of the challenge that we started yesterday. We all had this, we created the exchange requirements in Excel. There's a couple of people that have been working on turning that into an IDS. And those people have the opportunity to present today. The whole reason why we're doing this challenge is to show that this already works. It is available. There's a lot of tools that you can use. So that's the reason why we prefer no PowerPoints. I've seen people preparing a couple of slides, and I've seen people with some videos. So it's not a very hard rule. It's just that the people that will be presenting their actual tool live will obviously get more credits, right? Because that's what we want to see. Also, we would need to stay on time to give everyone the exact amount of time to present, depending on the amount of presenters, because I'm still not sure yet. We come to that later. I think we would have about 10 minutes. That means I set a timer for 10 minutes. And when it's time and the alarm goes, I will pull the HDMI cable and you're done. Also, to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to present, please save your questions until the end. So, Jeffrey, can you click the link and go to what we had? Until yesterday, very late, there were quite some IDS files still coming in from different tools. We had CoBuilder as the first, Akka, I think, second, BIMWorks third, BIMPermit, I think, was fourth. So does anyone want to start? Is it this? Oh, that's why you're at the front. I was wondering why that was. Yeah. So, but we need to clarify who's going to present first, because we need to make sure that we have enough time. So bear with Jeff, because he's US working on a Norwegian keyboard, which is, if you talk about interoperability issues, probably the worst you can imagine. So yeah, these are the ones that came in. So BIMQ, BIMWorks, BIMPermit, Akka, CoBuilder, the IDS Excel converter. That's you, right, Carlos? Yeah, Alexander, Carlos. XBIM, Plannerly. Is someone from Plannerly in the room? Anyone from Plannerly wants to present? All right. So Plannerly uploaded an IDS file. They're following online. They uploaded a valid, nice, really good IDS file, just to show that they can, I guess. But we don't have presenters here. Then we have two in the infra domain, one from Marcin Marcin, and one from Daniel Peel. Ah, that's you. Do you guys want to present this, or? Yeah, so infra is still a bit difficult. Yeah. From the challenge? You have a beam. Nice. Can you upload it? Good. So you're the last presenter then. Make sure you're on time. We also got a lot of files from Statspeak, IDS files that were not the challenge. So they uploaded their requirements for energy analysis and construction, architectural, but those are not in the. So those are not beam waffle makers and stairs. Is anyone from Statspeak here? Steen uploaded them. Not. Does anyone want to present this? No. All right. Good. This is the IDS files we got from the 3 checks we made together yesterday, plenary. So we're now going to see how these people created an IDS file from that Excel. And then tomorrow, after this, we challenge you to create an IFC file from it. Tomorrow morning at 9:30, we see the presentations of the IFC files. So already saw one on WhatsApp with a small house with a stair and a waffle maker. So tomorrow morning we will see a lot of waffle makers in IFC at 9:30, and then at 4 we're going to match them together. We take some of these IDS files, we take some of the IFC files, and we ask the vendors to check if the IFC is actually valid. But today is only the IDS files. Hey. So you want to start? Come up to the front or wherever you want to sit.
So thank you, Léon, for asking us. So Léon came up to me yesterday at 5 if we wanted to show our IDS experience in a challenge. So I never ever looked at it before. IDS, what it is, how it works. I know that it was there because Anouk and Arjen presented in Rome as well, and they're in my team, but I never tried it myself. I never looked how it worked. So we accepted the challenge, of course. We are Dutch, so we can do it if you want to. So next slide. So we looked at the requirements. I said, okay, and Arjen really took me through all the steps that was necessary to create an IDS. So I never did this before. So then we went to the Excel. We had the specification out of the Excel POC, the challenge requirement.
Excel to Excel.
Yeah, Excel to Excel. Yeah, that was easy. So copy paste. And we made this and we looked for the URIs in the EQML or whatever was necessary. And we used to do it in the BSTD. So next, well, after this one, we tried a new Excel IDS converter. We did a few other proof of concepts with other tooling, but Léon showed us a new tooling yesterday, sent us a link. So we tried it with that one. So we went here. Sorry, I have a PowerPoint though, not live. So probably more. So then we uploaded the file and we went through the requirements in IC4. We added them, and we were possible. Kijk here. To check the requirements, check specification, look if the other one was correct, and then we can convert it to IDS. It was really simple. So I was amazed how simple it finally is. Yeah. If you look at the long IFC schemas and all the hard work to try to understand that, this is really beneficial to make it even understandable for guys like me. Yeah, and this is the normal IFC file, of course, so it is not to be read or to understand. So the other way around is the converter and the tooling that's there is tried easy. So, and then again, I have one slide. It always works in PowerPoint, right? Yeah. But now we can. We have everything open, so we can show that it really works live as well. So, but this is what that comes together again, what we presented in Rome. So we try to work out with the IDS workflow for our own processes internally running it. So we see this first day is that how can we, as our asset information requirements are in the object type library. So now we have to copy paste to Excel. But what we want to do is go straight from the object type library to IDS. So we're proof concept to that as well. But now for this day one, we were successful. It was really possible to copy paste in just a minute. I started 16 hours ago to learn how it works, and then we had dinner between. So we made this possible in 5 or 6 hours, even with any experience before. So yeah, and then that was it. So now live.
Live, yeah. See here, the challenge, all the information is in the box, I think. That's
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's going
Okay, yeah, okay. The requirements in box. Now, we export it to Excel. This is the format we use for. Maybe better? Yes. Okay. This is the format from Excel. You see here, this is we call it documentability, and what entity has to check. And in the red, you see the requirements. See from the stair, the property now. The property says concrete element. With this file, I have to close it before I go further. I go to the IDS converter. As you see, it's very easy. I upload this file, specifications. I give it the title.
Where did you get the Excel file? Where you?
We used it for the other proof of concept as well before, so we had one example already. So that we made before, and that was made by Quint form based. So we copy paste a little bit, cheat.
It wasn't available for download first
No.
on the website.
Well, we didn't find it. There was no Excel.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
No. But we used we looked at his and we took our own to check if it really works if we do it ourselves.
And now you choose your IC version. For this challenge, we have the IC4.
Yeah.
Now you can see the 4 specifications we just see in Excel. Specification 3, the waffle maker, with the ATEM theory. Now, when all the specifications are correct, say convert to IDS. No.
It's already successful.
Yeah. Download the IDS file. Put it on my desktop. And when I open this IDS file in the browser, you see I have here an IDS.
So it's possible.
That's so easy.
Nice.
So no questions, so it was clear. So tomorrow there will be a lot more IDS files in the challenge box file. Great.
Alright,
That's it.
who's up next?
Yeah, who's next? All right, you're introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This work? Okay. My name is Andrea Aiello. I work for H Software. We have developed this tool some months ago. It's IDS editor. You can edit now ADS file 0.9.6. So I will show you what we have done yesterday to create our IDS. You can use it for free if you just connect to Asbin platform. So I just show you the IDS already created. Also in this version, we have introduced a new audit tool from Claudio. So we will see also something. It's still in beta version, but it works quite well. So this is the final, the interface. Here you can put the general data, general information, and here the list of specification. These are the 4 specifications that you have put in the Excel file. So the first one is model needs to have at least 1 flight of stairs with construction method property. Here in this interface, in this first page, we have a resume of the specification with a filter and requirements in a readable format, normal language. So the model must contain entities that have IFC class, IFC stair, any classification with identification LXSB that meets the following requirements: having property, construction method, and so on. Here you create the filters. We have all the 6 filters provided by the standard. So IFC class, part by, classification, attribute, property, and material. As you add one, here you can set all the information. So in this case, just IFC stair. Here you can put another value of predefined type if you want to. And this is another requirements, any classification with just identification code LXSB. All the required fields are mandatory, some are not mandatory. This is not required by the standard. Here you can find also the requirements. So having property name, construction method, type, IFC label, belonging to pset construction element general. And here you can add other information. For example, in this case, we have used the URI for the PSDD classification. And here we have the other requirements, specification with filters and requirements. In this case, if we understand well your Excel file, we just put one filter, no requirements. This is another case, the third case, where we have still just one filter, no requirements, because we say that the model must contain entities that have classification item with identification code EC, blah, blah. The bonus one, the last one, is the model must contain entities that have IFC wall that meet this property challenge in the property set summit, equal to yes. Here we have a report of what have we done, so you can export this in PDF. And in the last page, we are working with a validation audit tool. Here we are using now version 3.3. This is the last one. If, for example, we add the new specification, immediately you get some errors. For here, this field is mandatory, for example, so you need to add the value. But if you go to the validation field, you find that there are some problems. In this case, code 1 invalid applicability. So if we click here, we go to the specification to find out where is the problem. So we are still working on this tool, and but it works quite good. Here you find the message of errors and some code and so on. So you can validate the file directly on the IDS editor. Then you can download it on your computer and open it. I am in time.
Yeah, 5 minutes left.
Okay, so I don't know. We want to. Have you ever used this one?
I used that one yesterday to create
Okay.
IDS, and I was a bit confused with filters and requirements. Can you please explain?
Yeah.
What is the difference? Because I tried to figure it out myself, and it took time. In filters and requirements, actually, you can set the same stuff.
Yeah, you can set the same stuff, but basically it's in the filter you select the entities, IFC entities that you want to apply some rules. It's the IDS is made in this way. There's the first part where you select the IFC elements, and the second part where you ask for requirements. Basically, you can also combine the two so you can do the same stuff in different way. You can filter and ask for a property. Move from a filter to requirement some stuff. For example, here is I don't know, if IFC class IFC stair with this classification, I could move also this classification in the requirements. Yeah, depending on you, it's up to you if you want to. Also, when you read the requirements in English, you can understand it's better to put in the filter or in the requirements. Basically, shouldn't change anything. Maybe.
Note one thing, because in filters, I tried to first put all entities under filters, and I got the wrong value at the end. So
Yeah.
actually, we have to specify your specification like one entity for
Maybe the only difference, I leave there to Claudio, who want to say something, is this one. Here you put this 3 type of requirements. So model must contain, may contain, must not contains. So if you put this specification here, you do something different because you say that must contain this type of class with these properties. And the same in the requirements, you say having, optional having, and not having. So this change from filter to requirements. If you want to do, if you the FC elements must have some properties in the filter, you want properties with this FC element with these properties, you must put in the filters. I don't know, Claudio, you want?
Maybe you're using validation here, just to make clear for everyone that this is not validation of the IDS.
No, yeah.
Against IFC, but you're using the official buildingSMART audit tool. There is a reason we call it audit and not validation.
Yeah, okay, we will change it.
And that's indeed created by Claudio, but it's for everyone else in the room, for software vendors that want to create an IDS and export an IDS. We of course want to be sure that the IDS file itself is also valid. So we've seen some cases where people require IFC 2x3, but then they say they need a property set that only exists in IFC 4. So there's an official buildingSMART audit tool created by Claudio that is checking, is the IDS correct XML? Is it requiring the correct kind of implemented agreements, etc.
Yeah, okay, we will change the name. It's in beta version. If you using normally your IDS editor, it's not there, not yet. So it will be there maybe next week. This is a beta test of the new version 0.9.6. Yeah, and then you can download it and use IDS as BIM IDS to validate it. But we will see tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. There's 1 minute left. Sorry,
A short question. Can you open the file and we can see
Yeah.
file looks like?
Nice. You can stay in the front for the rest of the session as well.
Let's open it.
I use the tool used by the what you just demonstrated there seems to be that you can have a rule which is only a filter. You don't need to have a requirement. So if you're only checking for the presence of something, you just use a filter and leave a requirement there.
This is the IDS. I don't know if I have here a XML reader to. Yeah. Yeah.
You should be able to throw the file into the browser tab and it should show.
Okay.
Yeah, just to be clear, we are sharing the valid IDS files and ARCA, and also the one that just presented by Alexander are both valid files that are indeed also read the instructions clearly. So we're sharing those as well on the user.buildingSMART.org site. Because a lot of the checking tools tomorrow need IDS files as well. So the valid ones from this session will be shared on the page.
Okay.
All right, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
Next up is BIMQ.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I present BIMQ. It's a tool to generate essentially level of information needs as part of the EIR or BIP definitions and use it throughout the project. And it has essentially 3 goals. One is to generate software templates for various BIM authoring tools. This is something which I think it's the next target for IDS, not yet today. The second is to generate the IFC configuration files from the BIM authoring tools to get the right IFC out. And the third one is to generate checking rules. So far, it was all proprietary, and now, of course, we have IDS, and that's added. We heard about the challenge the day before yesterday. So what I present is all running version. So it's no beta, nothing. It's what people use since a few months. And yes, we do have some limitations according to this challenge, because we didn't do any particular things for this. The one is the classification facet. I mean, we see everywhere that classification facets are used. I see classification reference, pointing to IFC classification, but in reality, we hardly see it in our real life projects, and because many BIM authoring tools still use property sets for that. You know, having a property called classification with a value of the classification. So this is a limitation, we know. It's also in our files, so this can be debated. We hope that classification reference will be the standard also in tools now. And then, of course, we're also more than happy to provide this classification facet. The second one is when it comes to the actual checking for elements. Our standard way to check is if there is an instance of something like a stair, a waffler, whatsoever, then it has to follow the requirements. We do not yet check whether an instance is already there. You know, everything that is there has to pass. If nothing is there, it passes as well. So this means there's a limitation in the occurrences, in this min-max occurrences. That's limitations of our commercial system today. That's what we have to live with. So for this challenge, yes, we anyway wanted to do and also to learn. So we set it up here. That's a live system. We first, in order to do this, we got the classifications in. So because there was also the question of the BSDD connection. So you can here go to BSDD from our tool and import all the classifications that are there. And that also includes the CSI and ETIM classification. So we imported it in order to get to the right values, although they are not yet in the classification facet. So that was the first thing. Then we always differentiate between what we call the master catalog. So here are all definitions once, like beam, stair of flights, and so on. You see here that the stair of flight, which was one of the challenges, is linked to the classification itself. I mean, I think that was CSI classification. And it's also linked to the IFC stair as the IFC definition, because that's access to both the classification and the IFC definition catalogs. So you can only select what's valid. And it's, of course, it's specific to IFC 4 and so on. The same also for the properties. So here we had seen, yes, you will see this classification property, which is the workaround for the classification facet so far, but there was request for having this concrete element general. And also here, these definitions come all from a catalog, let's say, connected to BSDD. So you would take it from a catalog definition here, which has all buildingSMART published property sets of IFC version 4. So there couldn't be a wrong one coming in. So because that's all coming from there. And then you see from this concrete element general, we took these two, concrete cover and construction method, into the challenge, because these were the two that were asked for. And then when it comes to the property definitions, then you, of course, here you have the master, here you have the actual challenge, which is for us the project specific requirements. So we making sure that there are no two different definitions of, let's say, challenge in the file. But there's another thing what we call restrictions. For example, the challenge, and that was, of course, not exactly defined in the IDM. There wasn't anything saying what a challenge is. Is it a Boolean, true, false? Is it a string? And then I could have a regex saying it has to be yes, or is it an enumeration saying yes, no? So you could decide that we say yes, no. Okay, yes, no would be the general. But then, of course, in the challenge, it was that it has to be yes for the wall. So we make a restriction here to say, while the general definition is yes, no, in particular for this summit wall, it has to be yes. That's what we call restrictions. And then finally, this leads us to model requirements. These are now the real definitions for the challenge. You see this here all together, and of course here only yes. And then we have to still tie it to a responsible person, which is, we took ourselves, BIM managers here, and we tie it to a phase and use case. Because it has to have a phase and a use case in reality. Of course, here is only one, so that's simple, but there could be many, of course. And then you have to say, this IDS is for this use case, the other one is for the other use case. Okay, in this case, we just had one. And then here we create the checking rules. For example, using IDS 196. It's according to IFC 4. It's responsibility of the BIM manager. This model is called model requirements. It's for the inception phase, IFC export, and then you can run it. So in the result, yes, the IDS file is not yet perfect. So when I open it here, you will see, for example, that it is using this classification as a property set and not as a classification facet. So that's the status today. Hopefully, if classification facet becomes more popular, and I'm happy to see it tomorrow, seeing all the software tools supporting it, then it's something we will also do. So far, in all our real life projects, we see it as a property set yet. But hopefully, this will change. Okay. Any questions? I hope I'm good in time. Yeah.
Any further questions? No? All right. I really like clarification, maybe. Yeah.
So at some point there was a limitation in the ability of IDS to specify that something is required.
No, it's in our tool. We say in the moment we are only using this one check. I think Aka has shown this must have, may have, shall have, and in the moment we always say may have in terms of the instance, but all these instances that passes have to have these properties or other facets. Okay. So that's in the moment our limitation, not of IDS.
All right, thank you. I really like the fact that you were restricting users to choose wrong values. The example you said with IFC, where the flight of stairs in BSD, the CCI flight of stairs is in BSD connected to a couple of IFC entities, and you're restricting the user to select anything else. I really like that. That's nice. Thank you. Yeah. So I'll pause for
let's do it, Frederick.
Yep.
Okay, good morning. My name is Frédéric Grand, and I'm a French guy working for a Norwegian company called CoBuilder, and I'm in charge of our tool, which is about creating requirements. And well, what I will show you is quite close to what Thomas shown you and a bit different than the first two presentations, because what I will show you is not an IDS editor. That's a tool to create requirements, and this tool is able to provide those requirements into an IDS file. So, well, it can seem the same, but you will see that's not completely the same, because we are in a kind of world where you cannot do whatever you want in this kind of tool. And for example, according to the challenge, we had to create IFC stair. We did it. We had to classify it in CCI classification. We did not, because as we are in Norway, I used a national Norwegian data dictionary, so the classification will be according to the Norwegian classification system, whatever, that's same idea, but not fully according to the challenge. About IFC BIM, well, we created the IFC BIM requirement with the right property, but the property challenge will not appear in my IDS file. And Léon already knows that, but when we start talking about data dictionaries, I suddenly become quite rigid. And if the property is not in a data dictionary, and if it has not been validated by someone, you will not be able to use it in our tool. So the content you're able to use is coming from BSDD or defined data dictionary, but you cannot create whatever you wish. I will not allow you to create a property challenge, a property nick. No way, you will not be able to request it. So that's the main difference I wanted to explain. And yes, we push BSDD URIs, of course, when we have properties coming from BSDD, but we are using interconnected data dictionary. So there is another one called define. And when we use some properties coming from standards or national data dictionaries, very specific. In this case, we don't push BSDD URIs, but define links to again check the definition. Okay, so let's go to the tool, which is called Copy the Link. And well, the way it works is kind of similar as what we did yesterday when Léon said, well, we want to have a challenge. We will create a project. So we will give it a name. If I manage, that's a French keyboard, but I'm French, so it should be okay. It's a building. And here I will first state that I want to play with IFC entities. So that's the first setting of my project. And after that, yesterday, Léon said, well, we will have a project. And in this project, what do we need? And we said, well, we will need stairs. So here I will tell to my tool, please provide me everything in the data dictionary that is an IFC stair or classified as an IFC stair in the data dictionary. And yeah, I have 2 hits and I can check this stair from the data dictionary is the data required, blah, blah, blah. And yes, it's related to IFC stairs, so I will add it. And I will do the same for the IFC beam, not doing it right now because I made it yesterday. I'm saving, so Léon said, we want to have IFC stairs, we have IFC stairs. And as Thomas said also, when creating requirements in this kind of tools, you will have, according to the level of information thing, you will have to have milestone, purposes, and actors. So phases, use cases, pointed party, appointing party, so same. I already created ones yesterday, so I'm creating my milestone. We'll do the same for my use case if needed, etc. And then I'm pretty good to go. Then I will create my first requirement, where I will say, well, my milestone is a summit of Lillestrøm. I want to play with this object that is in my bucket list for this project, and I will add properties. And here I will be able to search for, I don't know, with stairs, that was construction method, right? Construction method. Still French keyboard with a French guy. Yes, here it is. And here I can check the definition into the data dictionary. So this is a technical definition of it. If it has a unit, the data type. So again, this is not an IDS editor. So if you want to say construction method will be a float value or a Boolean, no way again. Same than with the challenge property. You will not play with anything. You take it from the data dictionary and you create requirements on top of this. So here I will not do that because I will show it when finished, but we have to classify the elements. And here I will say that the data dictionary I'm using is the Norwegian one. So I want the elements to be classified as TFM. I will not dare pronounce it just for the Norwegian guys in the room, but I will update my project settings. And here, if I'm going back to my bucket list, I will see that generic stairs now, they can be used as IFC stair, but they have also the official Norwegian classification. Important to know is if I want to connect this tool, well, it's connected to Define and BSDD, but in Define, we select a national data dictionary. If we go to this Danish national data dictionary, which is provided by Molio, and if I'm looking for stair inside this one, I will see that this is classified as CCI. So if my tool was connected to this Danish data dictionary, then I will have this one. Or I can take it directly from BSDD. That's up to me, both solutions. Okay, let's, what about the timing? Okay, running now. So I will reopen the one I used yesterday to show you everything finished. So I have 2 objects with those classifications, TFM, etc., etc. I have my 2 requirements with 1 property here, which is construction method. Again, I will have all the information about it. If we have set of values according to it, I will get them. And what I did also is creating another requirements for another property, which is reaction to fire classification, blah, 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 according to an EN standard. So this one is coming from a national data dictionary, and that's according to a European standard. So I can create requirements on top of those standardized properties. And here I am. I can just, well, I can enrich an IFC file, so taking the file, pushing the needed properties inside. But here today's topic is to create an IDS. So this is the resulting IDS that went through the audit tool from Claudio. I didn't say validation, learn the lesson. From buildingSMART, the IDS official validation tool developed by Claudio and provided by Building Audit tool. Okay, rewind. So so it passed the test. So here you will see, well, this is my IFC entity, blah, 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 and you will find here all the BSDD URIs. And if I click on those, here it should pop up into BSDD. Yes, here it is. And as you are very clever and you think a lot about what I'm showing, you are like, well, where is the magic here? You have chosen a property in link coming from define and suddenly pops property into BSDD. The thing is, I told you we are talking about interconnected data dictionaries. So if I'm looking for this property into the defined data dictionary, like concrete cover, hoping that my French keyboard, yes, here it is. I will find it. And well, I will find its definition, its name, etc., set of GUID, and so on. But I will also know that this property is provided by BSDD with this URI. So here we are connecting two different data dictionaries. So we are gathering the best of the two worlds, being able to have all those properties coming from standards, but also being able to be connected to the buildingSMART data dictionary. So the magic is coming from there. No secret behind it. Just in the data dictionary, we have connections between BSDD and define. So you can use whatever you wish. And I think that's really important to be able to gather those two worlds. And Léon stood up, so I will be more than fast and show you that if you don't have a property coming from BSDD, but from a national standard, and in this case, you will be redirected to see the definition into the other data dictionary with, again, name, translations, definitions, etc. And done.
5 seconds left.
Thank you.
So Leon, there's a question from online. Bertrand Locke asks, I thought that one interesting point of IDS was the possibility to use user-defined properties in the case of a required property would not yet be in the BSDD or another official dictionary, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, let's save that question to the end because it's a box of Pandora that we open. Frederick has very rigid principles on that. You wanted to ask to show the IDS, right?
For him.
Yeah.
Show you, right?
We did it. You downloaded it. Perfect. Thank you. So next up is Ruben. Fancy AI.
So my name is Ruben. I work for BIMbase, a company, and we deliver software for other software companies. So it's not an end user product. Creating IDS files is also not really in scope. I'm hoping to show more in the presentation tomorrow, where we show the actual checking of an IDS file. But I had something interesting anyway to show. So here we go. So just to clarify, this is our main server system, and basically IFC files and IDS files come into the system externally. So it's not really supposed to create IDS files. Also, we do have some limitations like the other presenters. The minimum and maximum bounds checking is not really implemented. So saying like there should be at least one something something isn't really there yet. And we are using the BSDD system to convert whatever you're saying to IDS, but we're not actually propagating the URIs to the IDS file at the moment. And I'll explain to you why that's not happening currently. So, so I'm creating a Well, I'll first create a standard check in BIMWorks. So the first one, I'm actually starting with the last one in the challenge, which is create a check whether all the walls have a property called summit in the challenge property set, and it should give a value of yes. So check whether all the walls have a property called challenge in the property set summit with the value yes. It's recording my voice and converting it to an English sentence. And when I hit this button, it will try to convert it to a BIMWorks model checking definition, which is really simple. So we're selecting the IFC walls here, and we require a property within the property set summit, property name challenge, and it should be yes. So this is exactly a conversion of what I just said. And then there's this IDS button. So in this case, it's completely convertible to IDS, obviously. So if I click this button, we will actually see an IDS. So it's checking the walls again and the property set, property, and value. So obviously this is a really simple example. And we will now go to a more complex one. Yeah, so you can do the same thing by creating an IDS check directly. So you can say the same thing and convert it, and you don't have to see this intermediate language at all. The next one is actually using the BSDD. Check whether all the flight of stairs have a construction method. I need to hit stop. So that is not exactly what I said. Flight. Okay. Now I'm using OpenAI, and 9 times out of 10 it gets it right, and 1 out of 10 it doesn't. Obviously, when you're doing a presentation, it will come up with incorrect one. But no, it's actually the correct one. So what has happened in the background, it actually has consulted the BSDD classification system, and it has identified that it should use LXSB, which is the correct one. If we go to BSDD, it is need flight of stairs. The cool thing here being that in this case, I said flight of stairs directly, but I could also, for example, use this description. I'm not sure if it's clear. It's actually a semantic search. So it's not searching for the exact words I'm saying. It's actually looking at the semantic meaning of those words, which is really useful because it has actually looked through the whole BSDD system. So in some cases, there's like tens of thousands of classifications, and it will pick the one that matches what you said as close as possible. With the note that in this case, I actually had to tell the system that it would be limited to CCI construction. You can imagine if you enable all of the classification systems, it will actually become very ambiguous, like which classification system to use. I mean, CCI classification and ETIM, for example, have the same types of things. So in this case, I'm switching to ETIM and just only enabling ETIM. I think ETIM is the one that Léon added the waffle maker to. So I'm going back to my...
4 minutes.
Okay. So check whether all the furnishing elements are waffle makers. It's not an exactly what the requirement was, but in our case, we can't have empty applicabilities. All right. So it is looking at the furnishing elements again, and indeed, in this case, it also has copied the URI from the BSDD system. And if we have a look at this link, we can see that it is indeed the waffle maker. And again, I could have said something slightly different, like a waffle iron or something. I think I'll leave it at this. Are there any questions?
So just one small question in terms of so very impressive what you did. So my question regarding AI algorithm, do you share or use anything which relatively publicly available? Because some of the clients have this big concern where the data is stored. Do you have your knowledge databases shared? That's one thing, but is this using any other publicly available source which will help algorithms, AI in general, to learn how to use this or maybe misuse this, so that environment or not?
So in this case, we're using OpenAI, which is an organization, and we're actually sending data to OpenAI, of course. But we're not sending any data that's in the model. So we're only basically sending what your command is, with the note that when you're using the BSDD classifications, for example, it will also send snippets of the BSDD to, but that's basically public data in most cases. But it's not limited to OpenAI. I mean, it's basically a large language model, and you could use also an open source model or anything. So it's not tied to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you again. Who's next?
BIM permit, Andre.
Andre, yeah. So I noticed that Tommy had a question, so yeah, so I really want to give everyone the ability to present for 10 minutes, and if you see questions, then we run out of time. But there will be more than enough time at the end for questions if everyone stays on time. So BIM permits, I've never met these guys before. They just uploaded one IDS, nailed it, was completely valid according to the audits. And they showed up this morning. So it's a surprise for me as well. What's going to happen here?
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, hi guys. My name is Andre from VSK in Germany. By the way, my colleague Marcel also was sitting in the developer meetings, but with the product we just came up, and yeah, our product where we can create and import and check with, for example, IDS files. It's called BIM Permit. It's a web-based automatic checking system based on only open standards, and not only the IFC format, but especially the rules, because that is what required to give the user the authority of the rules. And we have a pipeline of checks. The first step is a formal check, which checks all the information requirements, exactly that what will you present in some seconds. And then the second one is a technical check, but please ask me afterwards about this. The time is too short for this year. And let's dive into the tool. So it's a web-based application. Everyone can apply for it for a testing phase. That's already online, and we are using IDS from the beginning to set up formal rules, and we are also supporting to migrate older files starting from 0.9 to 0.3 and 0.6 actually to migrate them. And in our tool we have I open it. It's a BIM viewer in it, and then we have the formal check, and then we have a rule editor. I already uploaded the file, or I constructed it here basically, and then you see the different specifications of it. So you have the name, you have the description of it. Of course, we've seen it before. For example, for the stair flights example, I actually added a second IFC class here, because Starflight is also present. So, but you can choose. Yeah, if you have multiple, it will be an enumeration. If you have one, it will be a simple value. You could also here input a pattern if you like. You have the different facets for the filtering. You can choose. We now supporting, I think, all the facets. They should work, and you could also add a predefined type here for the entity facet. And that were the filter requirements, aka applicability. We call it preconditions here in our system itself, but in IDS it will be the applicability. And then we have the different requirements here. And the first one is a classification. You could directly just here go on the link if you have input it. It will show you something. So we recognized maybe also the domain must be imported here in the classification system, but that you could do in the definition and put it in if you like. As where it's like a blank and it must not be there. It is not required to be there. Yeah, and if anything is required, you could choose it here. Yeah, the options you have. If anything is required, if it's optional, if it's prohibited. And that is a shortcut. You could also set the bounds by yourself. It's not clear what bounds will be accepted or not, but you can just input if as you like. I put it back to required. And then you can have operators here down. In this case, it's equals L minus XSB, but you could also here set a pattern. Boundaries, something must be greater, less than, for example, for base quantities. Yeah, it's very good to have a check is larger than 0. And yeah, text length also is maybe for names or very important. A lot of tools, they just have empty names in the stories or something like that. So yeah, we support the full palette of it. Also here having the second example, I think I don't have to go over and over it again to do the presentations before. We have the beam example here, of course. We have the waffle maker here. For us here, the specification can be empty, so just every element is filtered, but you could also put in furnishing elements, element proxies if it's needed. Again, here, if you have a link, you can directly go to the specification. Next step would be to also allow to input it, but one thing at a time. And yeah, also the last one on walls. What we did, we also added the standard and elemented case, which is important for IFC2X3, but also is in IFC4, but not allowed to use, or it's deprecated. But that is just the data, the format itself. It works, and then you can later on check it in our software. I present it tomorrow, but you can also download the IDS. So I just type here in blah blah to show you that is that file, and I open it, and yeah, and you can see that is also present in the file. So the file is it's version 0.9.6, but you could then also upload your older files in the general steps, release steps we have. We will support the migration unless there is not something destroyed or put out, okay, but then there will be a warning. You have the links in it, you have the restrictions here. It's an enumeration in this case, but in the other it would be a simple way, yeah. And so on. This one, by the way, is valid for IFC versions. We really go here in a compatible mode, but you can configure it next time on export. And yeah, we have running projects with it. And for example, we take the attributes and properties from BIMQ and import in our system and check the requirements on real-world models. That works very good. And the real-world models, they show, okay, what we must do in future to make IDS better. And yeah, that would be all from my presentation, and happy to answer your questions.
A little bit under 3 minutes left. Are there any questions? And when do you think IDS 1.0 will be final?
You have to decide. I have some remarks.
So thank you again. Thank you for joining us. You're also participating in a check tomorrow at 4, right?
Of course. But I have to find a proper waffle maker. And maybe a cream machine. But
well, there's already IFC files available that we will also publish, so if you don't have to create your own file.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Next up is Carlos. IDS Excel.
Oh, we started with that.
That's right. Just started with that. Let's do XBIT.
Good morning, everybody. So this morning, actually, I was not so much here to present XBIM as a platform, but something that, well, I'll introduce myself briefly. My name is Claudio Benghi. I work for Northumbria University. In the past few months, I've been trying to help the IDS community come together with a tool that is reliable and brings everybody together. I think maybe we've done a reasonably good job, particularly in the last couple of weeks, because the evidence that everybody was able to bring together an IDS file, at such short notice before 1.0 is produced seems like we're on track to deliver something that works. But I think it's important to understand that IDS, the purpose of IDS is to make it easy for everybody across the industry to work with this tool. So we've seen quite a diversity of interfaces today. And of course, we all have our own take. So we need to go from to define these workflows in the industry so that the information is there at the right time, in the right moment in the supply chain. And somebody will be strict on, strongly typed libraries, and somebody will allow total freedom to choose whatever property type you want. But this great level of freedom needs to be communicated very well across all the industry. So if you are a BIM manager that is specifying a set of requirements, you need to have extremely clear view of what you're actually asking your supply chain to produce. And I think what we want to do with buildingSMART is to make sure that all the stakeholders have the tools and have the power to make sure that the burden doesn't fall on them disproportionately to comply with the workflow. So today I wanted to demo, to start with, the IDS auditing tool. So the IDS auditing tool is actually an open source MIT-based, so MIT licensed application that is developed in .NET 6, and it's portable on Mac, Linux, and Windows. It is a command line interface that you can use. It looks something like this: IDS tool, audit, and then I'm passing an IDS folder. And as I launch it, it's running all the verification and it's giving me feedback on. Right now, it's kind of brutal because it's giving me feedback on all the IDS files that we received from yesterday. Mind you, these include all the preliminary versions that people have kind of played around to make sure that they were compliant. So there are failing and passing files in here. Some of them are some of them were temporarily failing and then they were fixed. Okay, so no blame appointed here. But just so we're clear, what this tool does is tells you that the structure of the IDS fully complies not only with the schema that we have, so with the formal data structure that we've decided, but also with the implementers agreement, so that we know that we constrain what we do with the schema to meaningful configurations. So for instance, even minor failures to that compliance are highlighted. So here we have this error 103 that says invalid value IFC site to match entity names. Well, we all know IFC site is a valid name, but in the implementers agreement, we have decided it was a fairly recent change, so not everybody still was still up to date yesterday, but we're getting there very quick. that all the types have to be uppercase. So we make it easier for everybody to kind of comply, and there is no fluidity or flexibility allowed there. It's got to be uppercase so that we don't tolerate anything that is not. And so the system tells you, okay, look, there are 803 valid types accepted, but IFC is not one of them. If I give you an example, these are the five first one in that list. You can ask, what's the full set of lists available to the system to make it easy for you? So what's the point of this? Well, the point of this is that if your model is failing to comply with an IDS, you can, and you're the modeler, you're the designer, you can go and say, look, I have the auditing tool. There is no way that my model can comply with this IDS because the failure is in the IDS itself. So we're giving, we have a number of workflows in the IDS project in mind. And one of them is make sure that the blame or the burden of proof does not fall on the wrong individual, and the audit tool is critical for that. So the audit tool is available for you as an end user to check that information is well formed. And if you're not happy to use the command line interface or embed your library directly into your code, we also made available an online version of that. So you go to xbeam.it/IDS. This just might end up in a different place eventually, but this is always going to be free, and you can produce your custom version. Everything is MIT licenses, so if you want to build your own interface around this, feel free to do that. And so what you do, you take one of the IDS files that we have. I'll take a failing one on purpose to see that there is something alive in here. Drop it there and says, okay, there are a couple of errors in this model. You get some feedback on the various errors, and you know where the line and position is that you can help and improve on that. But if in the end you manage to correct your model and you want to upload the final version, there you go. Debug completed, reading everything, all green. This is a valid IDS. So, yeah, I'll just be very brief. Another thing I wanted to do today was not just to build a new IDS from scratch, because you have seen it happening multiple times. What I wanted to show you is that I can go and pick up an IDS that somebody else produced, drag it onto my online editor, and ta-da, it worked. It's incredible. No warning, no issues, because that was a correctly audited IDS files, no warning whatsoever. Because the point of IDS is that we finally get to a clean workflow. The information is where it's supposed to be. There are no concerns and no doubts where the information should be. So there is still work to do in the standard in the months to come. So we are coming to a document. We're going to be improving the documentation for implementers and end users in the next 1 or 2 months and finalize 1.0, and then move on to work on the next versions. So this is just another interface. You have this idea of an applicability and the requirements. We'll make sure that everybody has a clear documentation and can easily understand what this means. But I'm hoping that, as we have seen earlier this morning, there's going to be a variety of user interfaces that people can adopt. So, for instance, one that I like quite a bit, sorry, I probably opened too many windows here, is this one here. This ability to see an IDS, as lots of people in the industry like to do, with a number of model parts and a number of requirements laid out in a nice grid interface. Now, in this case, the IDS challenge was a fairly simple one, so everything only had one type. But if you have a bunch of model parts and a bunch of requirements that can be applicable to multiple items, it would be trivial to go, okay, I apply this requirement to this and this and that, and then you can easily and quickly go to edit your IDS. And hopefully the user experience around IDS will improve over time, but we need to keep it consistent so that we know across all the workflows in our industry who needs to provide what information at what stage, and finally we'll get to, workflows that never let us down. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So just checking Plannerly, no one in the room from Plannerly?
No, but, so Plannerly is online. They did send a link. Hold on a second. Could you give me the each microphone back?
Yeah, just while we figure that out, because I don't like online presentations.
No, so I'll show you a link. You
Karen?
provided a link to.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did you do it in the hour and everywhere here?
No, I did it. I won.
That would have been a better story. Do you want to present?
We have Akko Shamar from Plannerly. He posted this in the chat. And so he just wanted to let everybody know that they did share a solution. There is a link here for everyone to check it out. So it's going to be recorded.
Can we share that in the chat as well, so it's clickable?
Let's see if I can do that.
Yes, so just for everyone in the room while Karen is setting up, Plannerly also submitted an IDS remotely. They're not able here to present. We did a webinar with them, actually. They presented how to do IDS with Plannerly a while ago. So that's also online. I think it's on our YouTube channel for those who want to see the presentation. And obviously you can reach out to Plannerly as well. They're usually at the summits as well. It's 10 minutes until it's 11. And we have one more to go. So while we're still putting in cables, just let me wrap up. So we also know that in Collab has IDS implementation. We saw that in Rome. There were some accounts here due to sustainability issues. They don't fly. Blender BIM supports this. IFC Tester from IFC Shell and obviously Plannerly. So this is the 9th presentation, 8th presentation. Plus we have a couple of other tools as well. So about a dozen tools are already supporting IDS. And as Claudio said, there's a lot of different user interfaces. That's the power of Open BIM. You can choose the tool that fits your purpose best, but you always have this interoperable, stable standards to be able to exchange with others. So this is going to be exciting, Karen.
Thank you, Léon.
I will give you all the time you need, but people will be leaving at 11 to the next session.
Okay, I'm going to be very quick. Does anyone know what this is? It's an asset management system, an asset management register. It's the asset management system of the Swedish Transport Administration. I work for the Swedish Transport Administration. Can you hear me? This is really awkward. Sorry. We've been involved in the IFC development since many years now, and I've been backwards engineering an IDS from an asset management system. The only thing I have that's according to the challenge is the beam, but it's there. And what I did is I took this bridge. It's a very small image there, but it's a bridge that's been built. It was built just a few years ago, so we have quite good data to work with and to play around with. And the beam is right here. That's the beam in the asset management system. And these are the data that is required to be put into the asset management system. This is quite an old system. And to input data, we need a lot of hand working. So inputs. And of course, there's always a risk with manual input. If you already have the data, well, you know all this. I don't have to convince anyone. So what we did is we've started looking into a basic level of requirement, both for identifying the objects, the edge beams, the footings and everything that's part of a bridge or a road or anything. And these basic requirements, what I've done in the IDS that I created a few days ago, was I used all the parts for identifying the different objects, the building parts of my bridge. I've put them into some of the attributes that are actually part of of IFC. And this is very much inspired by Stadsbygg and the Bane Noor. You saw the Bane Noor Kim presentation yesterday, and we are sort of working together to try and make some Nordic common workflow. I'm speaking very fast because I wanted to show you all of this. So I have a bridge. Let me see. Here's the bridge in Trimble Connect. I have a road associated to the bridge, and I have a lighting system. So I have 3 IFC files for this. Thank you, Marcin, and for supporting me in the road model. And then, so what I have been doing is I've put that Word document into BIMQ. We've been working with BIMQ all through the IFC 4.3 development in the IFC Road project, IFC Bridge project. So I was quite familiar to it. So I've been continuing to work with the Swedish Transport Administration data in there as well. We've set up all our templates, all the parts that form the requirements at the end, an MVD or an IDS. And so what I don't know, you saw this, Thomas showed you. You have your different pieces, the attributes, the properties and the objects, and you put it all together in these requirements depending on use case, actor, and phase of the project. So I did this, and in checking rules, we did the export. Of course, IFC 4.3, because that's what we want. And I did I'm not going to do this live because I don't have a mouse and keeps jumping around. But I do these, the export for the IDS, and I got an IDS, and I hope it's valid. I might not be the right version, but I think it's valid. I opened it I opened my IFC file of the bridge in akka, because that's the only IFC checker I've found so far, the IDS IFC checker. I upload my IDS file that I exported, and the export I just did here, it worked fine, and I've imported it, and I've got some errors because I haven't followed my own requirements, unfortunately. But if we look at this beam here, the only error it actually does have is that I don't have the concrete cover. That's the only error that's in there. I think this report is very clear. I think the BIMQ software was very good. It's also helping us to create documentation in PDF formats or Excel or anything else. And we've found a workflow that works. And then whatever tools we will choose in the future, at least I can say now that it works. Look at this, and that's it.
Thank you. This is actually a perfect end to the session, because what you showed is the next steps that we're going to do tomorrow as well.
Very good.
Indeed, we have turned the requirements from Excel to IDS now. We will publish a couple of these valid IDS files on the page as well. And now the challenge is to create an IFC file that has these requirements in them. Those IFC files will be presented tomorrow morning, 9:30 again in this room, same place, same time. So I will expect a lot of IFC files, waffle makers in there, very much looking forward to it. And then at 4 tomorrow afternoon, we're going to take the IFC files, the IDS files, and crash them together. What Karen just did in akka. She said, it's only akka that I know who can do this. So tomorrow at 4, and a lot of other tools who will also be able to do this. So good luck creating the IFC files. See you back tomorrow here at 9:30. There are a couple of additional questions that I will try to address after we open the door. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.